Tafshin Nun Beis, Chav Beis Shvat, the last time the Rebbe addressed us in connection with Chav Beis Shvat. And we're going to focus on that part of the Sikha mainly that has to do with making the house into a home, which has to do with bringing vitality into the home and has to do with bringing the light into the home, which is really connected, even though the Rebbe doesn't use the word Simcha, but it's obviously connected with the idea of Simcha as well. So we're going to begin from the last paragraph on the page in front of you, the first page of the downloads, the copies that I sent. So the Rebbe says, Kishem shebegulos Mitzrayim amru Chazal. Just like in the redemption from Mitzrayim, the Chazal said, Shebeschar noshim tzidkani shoya boisi ador. In the merit of the righteous women that were in that generation when the Yidden came out of Mitzrayim. Nigalu Yisrael Mitzrayim, the Yidden were redeemed from Mitzrayim, K'moy Kain, who gam benegel legula sidah. Love, so too it's concerning the upcoming future redemption. Inshallah, Kosov, concerning the future redemption, it says, like your days going out of the land of Mitzrayim, I will show you wonders. Meaning that what took place in Yetzias Mitzrayim will take place again by the Gula Asidah. And just like Gulas Mitzrayim was in the merit of the righteous women, the same thing the future redemption will be. That'll be in the reward and merit of the righteous women of that generation. The Chazal said, here's a different Maimer Chazal. This Maimer Chazal says a more general idea, not just about Gulos Mitzrayim, but it says a general idea that the women are not redeemed, the generations are not redeemed only in the merit of the righteous women of the particular generation. That means that this applies all the time. Whenever we need to have Geula, who is it that's going to do it for us? The women are going to do it. And there's another special connection with the redemption from Mitzrayim, with our redemption, especially according to what's explained in the writings of the Arizal, the final generation in exile is a reincarnation of the generation of those going out of Mitzrayim. So therefore, things will be repeated. And just like the generation going out of Mitzrayim was a generation of righteous women, so too, in our generation as well, it'll be the righteous women that will take the Yidden out of Golus. So instead of singing that song, it will be the little Kinderlach. It should be instead, it will be the little Weiberlach. Anyway, back to the next page. It says, Shezel Echad Ma'atayimim, this is one of the reasons. For the special effort and the unique effort of my father-in-law, the leader of our generation, in education and direction of the Jewish women and Jewish daughters, and all matters of Yiddishkeit, Torah and its mitzvahs. Before the Frierdiker Rebbe's establishment of the Beis Rivka schools, there was no concept within the Chassidish type of environment of having official schooling for girls. But it happened concurrent with this being also Jewish education for girls being in an official capacity being done throughout the Jewish world, throughout the Torah observant world. But the Frierdiker Rebbe added another component which was definitely unique in the Torah world. The Frierdiker Rebbe also added to this the study of Torah's Chassidus for women and spreading the wall springs outward to spread it out to other women and so on. We didn't say, okay, we'll just spread it to the men and that's enough. No, we have to spread it to the women as well. How come? Why is something that wasn't done prior to the previous Rebbe's times, was it done by the previous Rebbe? Since it is the final generation of exile, the first generation of the redemption, It matters even more so the avodah of Jewish women and girls that in their merit the geula will come. And the Rebbe connects it now, especially with the yahrzeit of the Rebbe Chaim Mushke. If this is said concerning all Jewish women and girls, that they are instrumental in bringing about the geula of Mashiach, how much more so concerning the daughter of the leader of our generation himself, that was educated by the leader of our generation. So one could say, but she passed away already. So we say, even after the passing of the Rebbetzin, her influence continues. This is even more so. That many Jewish girls, Nikrois al Shema, are called by her name. He doesn't say Nisheu b'nois Yisrael. This is only four years after the passing, so it was only still little girls that were called after the Rebbetzin. And through the way how these Jewish girls that are called by the Rebbetzins name, they act as a living example, living in the fullest sense of the world, living souls in living bodies. That they were educated in the spirit of Rebbe Chaim Mushke and by the Rebbe Chaim Mushke's directives, and in a way that's an example and similar to her, Bitochon, like a daughter of the leader of our generation. Let's skip to the next paragraph, last paragraph on the first column. It begins with Yud Beis. The special quality and advantage of Jewish women and girls in the avodah of making a home for the Eibusha down here below. Skip the parentheses. Will be understood by prefacing an additional explanation in what the Rebbe spoke about in an earlier part of the Sicha about the avodah, the service of making a home for Hashem down below. Top of the second column. Since the Chazal used the term to make a home down here below, it doesn't just say that Hashem wanted to be below, he wanted to have a house. It doesn't even say bayis. It says a dira. A dira means a home where you live in. There could have been other expressions indicating how Hashem wanted to be present over here. The specific term dira has in it very interesting connotations. Moving it's understood that we can understand the content of this matter of Hashem wanting to have a home down here below by comparing it to a human home down here below. It came as a result of the idea of a home above. In other words, because there is the idea of a home above, that is why down here a home has certain aspects that we will talk about here in the Sikha. The Rebbe always emphasizes this, that when we use an example from the physical world for Hashem, the reason why we could use a physical example from our physical world for Hashem is because in truth, the reason why it's here in this physical world is a result of the fact that it's above. So how do we understand and why can we take the details of a home down here below, of a human home down here below, to understand Hashem's wanting to have a home? It's because in truth, the reason why a human home has down here certain attributes that we'll soon explain is a result of the fact that the home that Hashem wants has that as well. Let's see how the Rebbe explains it in the human home down here below. Roim bepashtus, we see simply though a home can only be made of a certain place that's appropriate for a person to live over there. In other words, you can have four walls, you're not going to have a roof, you can't live in that place. It's open to the elements. Or just the opposite, you have a roof, but you have no walls. It's also not a home. You need to have a certain place that's ready to be called a home. Yet, even if you fulfill the basic requirements of a building, you have a roof, and you have walls, you have heating, you have protection from the elements, but that is still not the ultimate in having a home. The ultimate, the perfection of a home is when it's a beautiful home with beautiful furniture. To such a degree that there are three things that broaden and open a person's mind. And these what they are: dirana, a beautiful home; v'ishana, a beautiful woman; v'kelim noim, and a beautiful woman. And later we're going to say that they're interconnected. This means as follows: in the simple sense of a home, there are two components, two aspects. Aleph, dira betela legamri lebal hadira shedarba. A home is completely nullified to the master of the home, to the one that lives in it. All the details of the home are meant to be in service of the person that lives in that home. And this expresses the entire being of the home, the entire purpose of the home, to what degree it serves the person that lives in the home. The less it serves, the less part of the idea of the home it is. Base, another point, not only is it bottled to the person, but the second thing is adira no marchiva daita shalodam. A beautiful home broadens the person's mind. So in other words, there is the aspect of a home that's completely just an expression and completely just something that's bottled and nullified to the person. But then there is what the home adds to the person. That when you have a beautiful home, beautiful furniture, etc., it adds to the person something that he didn't have before when he didn't have a beautiful home and beautiful furniture. Just like it's down here below, there's the movement, the same thing as movement. And Negel Adira B'Tachtonim is understood concerning a home down here below. Shleimus Hadira Hudavke Kishidira Noim Kleum Noim. When is the home perfect for Hashem? When it's a beautiful home with beautiful furniture. Meaning, in addition to the fact that the Jew himself acts in a beautiful manner, as it's appropriate for Knesset Yisrael. That the Knesset Yisrael, Klal Yisrael, is called an Isha Noah. Klal Yisrael is a wife to Hashem. So it's not just that the wife, that the Jewish people are Noah, but also the home has to be beautiful. And the furniture has to be beautiful. So this means to say, not only do we make from those things down here below a home for the Eibishter in a manner that halacha demands, that he follows all the rules of halacha. In addition to that, we also make it a beautiful home, as halacha says that you need to make a home, you have to make things beautiful in Yiddishkeit. It's not just enough to just do things, like the expression is, af yoytze sein, just to fulfill the obligation. Like the halacha says, b'chol davar shu l'shem hakel hatoiv, sheyiyeh min hanoav hatoiv. In all matters that it's done for the sake of Hashem, who is good. So in a similar manner, it has to be done made from that which is beautiful and good. Im bana based tefillah, if you built a shul, yenama based shivasa v'chulu, should be more beautiful than the home he lives in. Zeh kelivan veyu. This is my God, and I will beautify him. Hisna'eh lefanav b'mitzvahs. Beautify before him with your mitzvahs. Aseh lefanav sukkah na. Make a beautiful sukkah. V'lulav na. And a beautiful lulav. Not just v'chulu, and not just to have just enough to be able to fulfill the mitzvah. It's important to bring the beauty into it as well. So, so too it's also understood concerning the general service of making a home down here below. It has to be in such a way of a beautiful home. This doesn't only affect that the person down here below has a perfect service of Hashem, but even more so, elagam lebal hadir. It also matters for the owner, for the one that lives in the home, that he also is improved by it. A beautiful home down here below, in making a home for Hashem, also broadens the mind of the supernal man, kaviyachol. Now we will skip over Ois Yud Gimel to Ois Yud Daled in the next page. Let's go to the last paragraph on the first column, right after Yud Daled. Royim b'poil, we see in actuality, b'dira b'pashtus, in a literal home down here below. She'ikar anoi v'yofi adira v'akelim, the primary beauty of the home and the furniture, heim begashmis v'heim beruchnis, whether it's the physical beauty of the home or the spiritual beauty of the home, like the Rebbe is going to explain about the spiritual beauty in a Jewish home. Totally be'isha is dependent upon the wife. Akeres habayis is the mainstay of the home. Ukiyedu, as it's known, she'inyan shel no, the idea of beauty, hakoyach v'hakoyach lasis no, and the idea of the capability to make things beautiful. Yeshnoi b'myuchad ve'isha, it's specifically a trait that's unique to a woman. Isha na, beautiful woman, she's called a beautiful woman. Kala na v'chasuda, beautiful bride, and a gracious bride. Ad she'ein isha al yofi, till we say that a woman is not only for the sake of beauty, meaning yofi beruchnis shemazan ishtalshul yofi begashmis. It's a spiritual beauty that because of her spiritual beauty comes out the physical beauty. In other words, the Rebbe is saying an amazing thing, that a woman is known for the idea of beauty. Not only her own beauty, but also she's known as the one that knows how to impart beauty and makes things beautiful. The man could maybe, knock together a few planks and build some furniture. But who makes the home beautiful? That's the woman, because she has the spiritual beauty that from that comes out her own physical beauty that also impacts, like the Rebbe says also in the footnote 96, that because of her connection with beauty, she is the one that causes the beauty in the home and causes the beauty in the furniture as well. So the Rebbe says, in the second paragraph on the top of the second column, we could say, this came down by chain descent from this. So too it's in the avoid of making a home for the Eibishter. Why is it that a woman is the one who brings beauty to the home? Because spiritually, in making a home for Hashem, she is the one that makes a beautiful home for Hashem primarily. Asher ben Sheu b'nois Yisrael toli chelik ikri me'avoda da'asiyas dirish dira noam kelim noam. That with Jewish women and girls is dependent the primary portion of the avodah of making a home that should be a beautiful home with beautiful vessels. So just like she's making a physical beautiful home, why is that her job? Why is that her interest and her focus? Because spiritually, she is the one that makes a beautiful home for Hashem and beautiful furniture and vessels for Hashem. And the Rebbe connects it with the famous 3 mitzvahs that are connected with women. That all those 3 mitzvahs have to do with imparting spiritual beauty. Like is specifically emphasized in the 3 primary mitzvahs that upon them is supported in every Jewish home. Hadlakas Neir Shabbos Kodesh Yom Tov, the kindling of Shabbos and Yom Tov lights. kashrus ha'achila v'shtiya v'taras ha'mishpacha, the kosher eating and drinking, and taras ha'mishpacha, family purity. Rosh Tevas hachein, it's the Rosh Teva of grace. Chein v'yofi v'noi, which means graciousness and beauty and so on. So we see that the fact that hachein is Rosh Tevas, hey is for hadlakas neiros, ches is for challah, which has to do with the general idea of kashrus, and nida has to do with taras mishpacha, the nun. So this is hachein, is the idea of beauty as well. So we see these three basic mitzvahs upon which the home stands are mitzvahs of beauty. Mitzvahs elu poilos sheyiyah. These mitzvahs affect that and influence that should be. In addition to a home for Hashem down here below in general. But in addition to that, these three mitzvahs affect that should be diranov, a kelim noim, a beautiful home, and beautiful furniture, chadurim b'yoifi, permeated with beauty, ruchni v'gashmi, both spiritual beauty and physical beauty, shal kashrus tara v'kedusha, of kosher, purity, and holiness. These are all the things that these three mitzvahs have to do with. And the Rebbe also in the footnote brings in that the kosher food changes and elevates the actual nature of a person to make him different, and family purity causes physical and spiritual health, and also kindling Shabbos lights is something that brings holiness and light of Ner Mitzvah, as we will learn soon. Last paragraph on this page. So too, in the Jewish woman's role in educating her sons and daughters, she's a ma'imidas yisoid ha'chaim shekol adam. Chinuch, education of the young, establishes and sets up the foundation of the life of every person. So, what do we say? Who do we see as primary in this? Royim bepoil, we see in actuality sha'chinuch shalahem toli ba'im, that their education is dependent upon the mother. Ubefrat hachinuch, top of the next page, v'hadracha shel yilodim ktanim. This is especially so with the chinuch and the direction of young children, that the mother is more instrumental and crucial in their education. Ukechol shekotten yoiser, and the younger the child is, hitolis be'aim gedoyle yoiser. Their dependency and their need for their mother is greater, and therefore he machdira behem me'esi yoisim ktanim chayis v'roch shel yadus. She is the one that permeates within them from their time of their youth a vitality and spirit of Yiddishkeit. And by doing so, in their youngest years, on this foundation that the mother invests in the children from their youngest age, so they grow up sons and daughters involved in Torah and its mitzvahs, b'shleimus, beruchnis, ubegashmias, perfectly and completely, spiritually and materially, in a beautiful manner. Again, the point is not just doing, but doing it beautifully. This means to say, not only does the mother ensure that the children should be involved in Torah mitzvahs in a normal fashion, but in addition to that, that the mother it permeates in them the delight, enjoyment, and warmth, with the refinement and the love that are unique in the nature of Jewish women and girls, that they ensure that the way that these Jewish children grow up to do Torah mitzvahs should be in a beautiful manner, in a good manner. That he spoke about in the Sifyud Beis, that you can point on them and say, this is my God, and I will glorify him. In other words, just like the children that went out of Mitzrayim, they pointed to Hashem by Kriyas Yamsuf and said, this is my God. But they didn't just say, this is my God, but they said, I will glorify him, I will beautify him, because they had received an education that brought them to appreciate the beauty of Torah mitzvahs, not just doing Torah mitzvahs. And for example, the Rebbe is going to bring where we see Jewish women's influence on their children from a young age. Like for example, it's seen by Minuk Toiv Shalom Mois Yehudiyos in the good custom of Jewish mothers to sing to their young children while they're still lying in their crib. That the Torah is the best, the Torah is the best thing, the sweetest thing, the most beautiful. By singing such lullabies to the child, this influenced the child, it's supposed to say over here, the Gimel and Beis are flipped around, that even after he matures, skip the parentheses, this inculcates the child an inner love and a preciousness for all matters of Torah mitzvahs. This idea of causing to embed and inculcate and permeate beauty in the home and all in matters of Yiddishkeit. We see openly the mitzvah of the lighting of Shabbos and Yom Tov candles. Through a woman and a girl from Jewish children is lights the holy candle for the honor of Shabbos with Yom Tov in bracha with a bracha. He machdira bebayis urshel kedusha. So she causes that a light of holiness permeates the home, and chaim, a light of warmth, v'yoifi, and beauty. Shemeir umeyape, it shines and beautifies. Top of the second column, kol habayis, the entire home. V'chol bnei habayis, it illuminates also all the members of the household, the entire family. Gamas habal v'abonim. It's not just something that the women themselves are enjoying. It's supposed to illuminate the home, including all the members of the household, the husband and the sons. And what are they illuminating it with? Imner mitzvah Torah, with the candle of the mitzvah and the Torah of light. Kol inyan Torah mitzvah, all matters of Torah mitzvahs. And that's why it says, the Rebbe brings in a footnote, that someone who is accustomed to be careful with Shabbos candles, they will have sons that are Talmid Chachamim. And Rashi explains why. Because since it says, Ki Neir mitzvah Torah oyer, so if you have the Neir mitzvah, the Shabbos candle, the candle of a mitzvah, so then the result will be the Torah, that you are merit to have the idea of the Torah of light. And also, Maschel Mekach, beginning from the fact, they had Lokis Neir Shabbos, Shairas Shabbos, through the kindling of Shabbos lights. He Machnisas Yom HaShabbos Kodesh L'chol Bnei Bayis. She is the one that brings Shabbos into all the members of the household. Only afterwards is there the ma'ariv davening and the kiddush of the husband. In other words, who is the first one to usher in Shabbos into the home, or even usher in the Shabbos at all? It's the woman through her candle lighting, because she's the first one to do that. Only way after candle lighting is ma'ariv, and after ma'ariv is the kiddush. So instead of the husband seemingly being the most important one as far as ushering in the Shabbos, who is the one that ushers in the Shabbos? Specifically, the woman through lighting the candles. And the uniqueness of this mitzvah of the Shabbos and Yom Tov candles is that it affects that should be a beautiful home in a revealed way to eyes of flesh. Every single person could see how this home became illuminated with the light that's shining from the candles. The Rebbe explains in other places at greater length that every mitzvah contributes light We even said Torah Oir. And so too, every mitzvah contributes a light into the world, draws down a light into the world. But there's very few mitzvahs, starting and mainly with the mitzvah of Ner Shabbos Kodesh, where the spiritual light is physically translated into physical light, that everyone could see that this mitzvah brought beauty to the home. It illuminates the home. It makes the home a beautiful home by having the lights being lit instead of a darkened home and so on. So the Rebbe continues, we could say, this is also one of the reasons why the 248 positive commandments, skip the parentheses, with the two hands, which is the two hands represent the two general lines of love and awe. In Kabbalah, it's brought down, the right hand is the idea of love, and the left hand is the idea of awe. They cause that Torah mitzvahs are now perfected. One does the mitzvahs in a better manner, and a manner like Chassidus explains that it becomes wings to cause it to fly upwards when you have your mitzvahs permeated with love and awe of Hashem. So when you have 248 plus the two hands of love and awe, this is the numerical equivalent of candle, 250. Why is it? What's the connection? Because by kindling the candle, misbatas begoli ashlemus the kiyum kol mitzvahs, it's expressed in a revealed way the perfection and fulfillment of all mitzvahs. All mitzvahs about bringing about light, but it's not revealed unless through a candle. Last is like Baruch Hu dira na betachtoinim, to make for Hashem a beautiful home down here below. So the Rebbe continues the last line of this page, Tazayin, Ulahoisif, and to add, Shazeh merumas gam b'shma b'shem hanifteris. This is also hinted in the name of the Rebbetzin who passed away, which is Chaya Mushka, that earlier in the Sicha the Rebbe spoke about Shemoira al Chayis v'reach b'samim. Chaya is from the word life, vitality. Mushka is the name of a certain type of spice, and perhaps it's even, the Rebbe said, one of the spices that was used in the Ketores, which is a very pleasing scent. And the Rebbe explained that the scent has to do with makif and chayis has to do with pnimi. So this whole idea is what the woman does. The woman brings chayis into the home and brings a pleasing scent, a delight in the home. So it should be able to be a beautiful home. In the home there has to be vitality. It should be a lively home, a lebedik ishtub. When you say it's lebedik, that's in addition to the existence of the thing itself. Something could be there, but the item could be like lying there in a not living fashion. The chayas, the woman's job is to really make lebedik into the house. The Yisayim is even more so. Shiur gesham reach besamim reich toivena. It should be felt in the home, a scent of spices, a good and beautiful scent. Hein beruchnis v'hein begashmis, both spiritually and physically. The Rambam even explains that the besamim was there to bring also a pleasing scent. Not the besamim, the ketores was there. The incense offering was actually there. It wasn't just spiritual; it was also physically brought a pleasing scent into the Beis Hamikdash. That the beautiful scent adds even more so in the beauty of the home. Similar to the candlelight that adds to the physical beauty of the home. Ubad Goshi is said to be a Shabbos, and even more emphasized on Shabbos. What's the uniqueness of Shabbos? Because Shabbos is about the idea of delight and enjoyment, and therefore, since Shabbos is about delight and enjoyment, therefore on Shabbos, there's this idea of even more so bringing in the beautiful home with all of these pleasant lights and even the pleasant smell as well. That's hinted in the name Mushka, of Chaya Mushka. So too, also in the spiritual matter, Shadir and totally Bakach, a beautiful home is dependent on the fact Shatia Hein Havoida the Chaya, it should be both the Avoida of Chayas Pnimi, V'Koiches Pnimim. The Rebbe earlier in the Sicha explained that this is referring to the inner life and vitality, the level of the vitality and enjoyment that permeates the person, has to do with Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, and so on. Ve'ein avoida the Mushka Koiches HaMakifim. The avoida of Mushka has to do with the transcendent soul powers. Ad Yechidah Shebenefesh, to the level of Yechidah, in the Tainug, the idea of the light, beauty, because when a person faints, the Rebbe said, it's necessary to bring them a smell, and the same thing when the Neshama Yiseda leaves Matzah Shabbos, we smell Besamim, because a smell draws down the deepest levels of the soul. Shezeh Poyel, by having both the Chaya and the Mushka, having the spiritual life of the inner soul powers, and also having the pleasant scent of the transcendent, encompassing soul powers, the Yechidam. So this affects, in addition to being a home down here below in general, that home is nullified to Hashem, like we said before. The first component of a home is that the home has to serve the home, the one who's living in the home. In addition to that, Nasis didn't know it becomes a beautiful home. Just like it's in the simple sense, that the pleasant smell of the spice and this incense called mushka pe'el shebachol habayis yirech v'ruach no. It affects that the entire home should be filled with a beautiful scent and smell. Noi kazeh, it's such a beauty. Asher meishiv, top of the second column, as a nefesh v'aneshama nenesmenu. It brings the soul back, like we said before. If a person faints, you have to have a smell to draw it down, and the neshama delights from it. Again, like we said before, that's why when the extra neshama leaves on Matzah Shabbos, we have psalmim, because that's a good way to comfort the soul on its loss of the second neshama. There's a marchiv daitish aladum. This broadens the mind of a person. Hareza machdir. This permeates. Ubefrat biyachdim ner Shabbos kodesh v'yomtiv. This pleasant smell, in addition with, and especially with the Shabbos and Yom Tov lights, it permeates oir chodesh v'chayis chadosha b'chol bnei habayis b'chol hadir kula, a new light and a new vitality in the entire household and the entire home, ad b'chol oilam kula, until the entire world, b'chol seder ishtalshus, an entire chain order of descent of all the spiritual realms. Koil u'maschil, including and beginning the delight and enjoyment in the true master of the home. Who is the true master of our home? HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem, he desired. Desired has to do with the light, that he should have a home down here below. Until the perfection of the light of Mashiach, v'rucha shel Malcha Mashiach, and Malcha Mashiach, the spirit of Malcha Mashiach, begula mitzvah shleim shetov b'schar nosh mitzitkonis b'Yisrael kanal, by the true and complete redemption that will come in the merit of righteous women, like we mentioned before. And the Rebbe said that, the Rebbe says in the footnote, let's look in footnote 112, right underneath this, v'yeshloimer, we could say, through making a home down here below, not in a way just to fulfill the obligation, but we make a home for Hashem out of delight and pleasure, which is the idea of scent, which reaches to the highest, most level of delight. It's added in the fulfillment of Hashem's desire to have a home down here below. Through that becomes down here below, from their perspective, similar to a vessel in a home for the revelation of Hashem's delight they desired above. And the Rebbe also says in a later footnote, in 116, he says, that the pleasant scent of a rose has to do, just like a rose was only made for a good scent, the same thing tzaddikim were created for the redemption of the Yidden, and the same thing. It says a different Maimon Chazal that the rose, which has a pleasant scent, was meant for Shabbos and Yom Tov. So too, Yidden are prepared for the Geula as well, should come speedily in our days.